I'm Kimra Major-Morris. Welcome to Legal Connections. On today's show, FAMU Law Clinical Instructor Kim Crag-Chaderton talks about the importance of lawyers giving back to the community with pro bono work. Alum Andrew Easler tells us about his book on drug and alcohol testing. You'll meet Joi Cardwell, a professional singer who turned in her microphone for law books. Find out about her story. Javonni Hampton has a report from FAMU, and we'll have an alum profile. All of this coming up on Legal Connections.
Pro bono work is where we have attorneys who are giving back to the community. We live in a society where our system of law is one of the best in the world, but it doesn't always offer access to all the protection and privileges that it allows. So pro bono becomes very, very important for attorneys who will be able to give back and give that same access to people who are unfortunately unable to afford it due to whatever circumstances. Prior to me joining the FAMU College of Law, I worked as a public defender for 5 years, and there I saw a lot of inequities. I then transitioned on to the Department of Children and Families, and those same inequities actually followed. So once when I became an instructor here at the FAMU College of Law, I wanted to make sure that I kind of continue to assist in those areas. And so while here, I run the Guardian Ad Litem Clinic, and that's one of the big pro bono projects that I do, where I serve as the attorney for children, representing them in the manifest best interest while in the dependency court hearings. There, we encounter a whole lot. It's just not removing a child who has been abandoned, abused, or neglected, but actually servicing the family members. There are many cases where I see that family members have checked all boxes, completed everything that the court has asked them to do, with the exception of housing and income. So that makes them kind of impossible for them to gain their custody of their child back, only because of financial situations. And many times those situations could be as simple as owing outstanding fines for prior court cases, can't pay the court costs, can't pay the fees that are associated, so then their license gets suspended. Without a valid ID, they can't gain employment or even housing. So as a guardian ad litem, I work with the problem-solving courts where we work with the family as a team. So yes, we are looking at the manifest interest of the child, but sometimes that best interest means being reunified with the family, and how do we do that? Another program that I work with is the He Get Up organization that's run through the Orlando Sur Foundation, and we have 4 events a year. That is extremely helpful to a lot of families, because what we work on, we have attorneys who help families with landlord-tenant issues, eviction issues. My goal, and one of the main things I work on, is helping a lot of the families get their license reinstated. That's filing motions with the court, where they can either convert those fines and fees into community service. Once it's converted community service, they can get a valid license, or even setting up a payment plan through the court system, and the court has joined us on that adventure. And then they're able to go and get a license temporarily reinstated so they can get housing, so they can get jobs, and be able to get their families back together. So all students coming through are part of those projects that I mentioned. I run the Guardian Ad Litem Clinic, so I have students who are going to me to court. They're working with the families, they're interviewing the children, the parents, educational needs, medical needs, you name it. Also, whenever we have those events throughout the year, those 4 events with He Get Up, the students are also, those in a legal clinic, are also with us, the interns are with us, serving those same clients and parents. And we also advertise to the entire student body. We want them to be giving back. We want them, when they leave the doors of FAMU College of Law, that yeah, they're gonna go into their respective careers, but they're gonna also always want to give back. I have several students, and it's just so heartwarming to see when I go in as a GL to the court hearings, former students who have since graduated are volunteering as well. Just get involved. The community as a whole, we need so much. It's only so much that everybody can do, but one person doing one thing makes it a little smaller.
FAMU Law's Kim Crag-Chaderton is one of dozens of Orange County lawyers recognized by the Florida Supreme Court and the Florida Pro Bono Coordinators Association for their pro bono work. There's more Legal Connections coming up. Stay with us. Our guest is a FAMU Law alum from the class of 2020. He graduated with magna cum laude honors, and he describes himself as a forward-thinking attorney with a passion for resolving complex legal matters and developing lasting strategies for clients. We welcome Andrew Easler, Esquire, to Legal Connections.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so honored.
So happy to have you here. I would like to know where you grew up and a little bit about your background first.
Okay, yeah, so I used to be a military brat. So I was actually born in Idaho, and I've lived in quite a few different places throughout, but majority of my life I've lived right here in Central Florida. My mother was born here in Orlando, so kind of a little bit of an Orlando brat, if you give it that way.
That's different.
Yep,
We don't run into as many as we'd like here.
Yep, absolutely.
So tell me what's been going on since you graduated from law school.
Yeah, so after I graduated from law school, I took the bar, and then instead of doing the smart thing that a lot of people do and working for somebody else and learning a little bit more, I decided I'm going to go on my own. So I started up my own law practice over in Melbourne, Florida, Easler Law. Fortunately, it's been working out for me. Been a couple of years, and so far, so good.
I did that.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm one of those people that I just kind of leap before I look sometimes, and hope things work out. And so far, it's been working out for me. I've got a couple attorneys working with me, and paralegals and legal assistants, and I've been able to help a lot of people along the way.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations even on the honors, and because law school is by far one of the hardest things that I've done, but you seem like you handled it quite well. Tell us about this book.
Yeah, so one of the things that I was doing during law school and even before that was helping other people with legal compliance. My passion even before law school was education. As you know, with our degree, the Juris Doctor, it's the Doctor of Laws, which is also a teacher of laws. And that's one of the things that actually attracted me to the legal field, because all of my life I've always wanted to be able to help people. And one of the skills that I've had is hopefully being able to convey concepts that are sometimes complex in a simpler term that people can actually utilize. So, I decided to go to law school, learn a little bit more about the law, and then that ended up helping me get into compliance, breaking down some of these more complex regulations that's more digestible for a wider audience. And so one of those regulations is the 49 CFR Part 40, which is a big mouthful, but essentially it's transportation regulations. Congress back in the 90s decided, hey, there's some people on the road that are under the influence, some people that are flying planes, driving trains, those kinds of things. And, it's causing accidents and fatalities, and we need to do something about it. And so for those safety-sensitive positions, the federal government said we need to have a mandated drug and alcohol testing program to make sure that those people aren't causing these kinds of fatalities in the workplace, or at least do what we can to try and prevent them. And so that resulted in the 49 CFR Part 40 and some of the resulting regulations. But it's a big book.
And okay, so let's just say that in all my days, as my grandmother used to say, I've never heard of this particular statute.
Right.
And so what made you choose this topic?
Yeah, so I was in undergrad going for my education degree to become a teacher, and I decided to start up my own business. And that business was biometrics technology, doing fingerprinting and background checks, one of the things we need in order to become a licensed attorney, but also real estate agents and things like that. So instead of getting an office, I ended up going around the state doing mobile fingerprinting. I learned a lot about Central Florida because I drove around in between classes and doing people's fingerprints in offices or mansions down south or wherever it ended up being. And then a lot of employers kept on asking me, hey, I see that you're doing my pre-employment background checks and you have this great technology and you're good at service. Can you do my pre-employment drug and alcohol testing?
Wow.
And so I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm busy enough as it is. But I decided to go get trained and qualified. There were enough people that were asking for it, and I drove out. I didn't drive out, actually. I flew out over to Utah to get some training, and the training was not what I was expecting, and some of it was actually just incorrect.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, I can do this better, right? I've got my education background. I can help people. I can learn these skills. And so I developed my own training program. I taught my own people, my own offices. I ended up getting a bunch of offices. And then it just kind of snowballed from there.
That's wonderful. And who's your audience?
So I have a pretty wide audience, to be honest. My favorite audience are these young entrepreneurs, people that want to start up their own businesses, doing drug and alcohol testing kind of like I did, who are looking to, achieve those kinds of goals, who maybe don't have a major opportunity to go out and buy a Subway franchise for however much that franchise fee is, right? But you still need that accessibility, still need the training, still need the guidance in order to be able to do that.
This is wonderful. And where can people, tell us first, the name of your book is?
Yes, so the name of my book is a bit of a mouthful. So it's a guide to DOT regulations on drug and alcohol testing. The subtitle, it's a little bit more of a mouthful. It's Required Regulations and Pro Tips from Andrew Easler. Obviously, me as the attorney.
Okay, and where can people get it?
It's available on Amazon, so you can always search on my name, Andrew Easler. Sometimes it's tough to get the spelling right, so you can always go just by the title.
This is so interesting. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I just want to add, one of my favorite things about this show is the ability to make connections, right? And making connections is one of the favorite things with education, because once you make that connection, you've basically got it. You've got the achievement, you got the opportunity.
For sure.
And a lot of people may not necessarily directly relate to this big mouthful, the 49 CFR Part 40, but people know the difference between getting an opportunity and then having that opportunity taken away from them. And hope and despair, right? The more doors that you have open to you, the more doors you have available to you, the more hope you have. And I think that's one of the most important things that we can have here in the United States. And I love what you're doing here with Legal Connections.
Oh, thank you.
Giving those doors to those people.
And one takeaway I want to add is that I think people will be inspired by this non-traditional path that you had after law school, and even taking a course and saying, well, I can enhance that. So there are a lot of gems there, if you will. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Andrew Easler is another FAMU Law alum making a difference in the community. There's more Legal Connections coming up. Stay with us. Joi Cardwell is an American singer and songwriter. Born and raised in New York City, she performed in various singing competitions as a child. Cardwell appeared on stage at Carnegie Hall at the age of 5 in a dance recital. She worked as a backup session singer for Melba Moore, Jermaine Jackson, LL Cool J, and the Pointer Sisters. Our next guest has put down her microphone and picked up her law books. Welcome to Legal Connections.
Thank you.
Now that's quite a segue from singer to law student. Tell us how that came to be.
Actually, I was supposed to be an attorney first. That was my chosen profession. I just happened to have a little bit of talent singing. So when I was an undergrad at NYU, I entered into a competition at the Apollo and won the world famous amateur night at the Apollo a couple times. And there, my journey kind of digressed into the music world. So after a long career, 30 plus years of traveling the world and recording, I finally decided to get back to what I wanted to do originally, which was study the legal profession and be able to help other people in their pursuits, keeping what they create, keeping that ownership. So here I am.
I can relate. I can relate. And so I first want to back up to the part where you said a little bit of talent. Somebody with a little bit of talent is not winning the Apollo. So thank you for your modesty, but we know better. And how has it been so far, the law school experience?
Well, at first I thought I had lost all intellectual capabilities when I started law school. It's been a challenge. It's been a great challenge. It's also been a great learning experience. And it's been, you know, something that has taught me patience and perseverance, and also given me a lot of hope for, you know, just the fact of when you pursue a dream and you just stick to it, there's nothing you can't achieve, no matter what age you are and no matter where you've been.
So rewarding, and it's timely still.
It is.
I'm sure you know that the representation in the music industry for artists, you know, is something to be mentioned. You know, you have in intellectual property, for example, under 2% of attorneys who look like you who are practicing in that space. So as a former artist, I know that you are fully aware of the challenges and the expenses that go along with not knowing and not having the right representation.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I learned having been represented on my initial contracts were that what we learn in law school doesn't necessarily translate into a real life application when you're representing clients, because what we know is very structured, you know, in law school. You learn from case law, but there's not a lot of case law in dealing with IP, particularly with recording artists on that side, because generally artists are too broke to be able to afford attorneys. And because of the training that we have, we don't really have an understanding of what the implications are on the back end. You know, we sign things, we say, oh, this is boilerplate, this is how things are done. But how things are done are not how things should be for artists. And my role at this point going forward is to be an advocate for intellectual property, for economic justice, for things where when we create something, we should absolutely be a party to that and know exactly what it is that we're, you know, getting into. Because when you know, you can make choices, but the disappointment and those tragedies that we hear about a lot of times come from the fact that you think you're going to get something, you had an attorney or you had representation, but there was I would say a disconnect between what you think you have and what even your attorneys present.
For sure, and it's what you don't know that is the most dangerous and has implications across generations.
Absolutely.
And so I'm so happy that you're going to be working in the IP space, which I've come to love. Tell us about the Racial Justice Clinic, the Racial Justice Fellowship that you've been a part of at FAMU.
Well, for the past year, I was part of the Racial Justice Consortium, which included all of the law schools in the state of Florida. So what we did over the past year was just look at the topics that were timely and are timely in regard to just education, to wow, there's just so much to unpack there. But the work that we did was to include ourselves in bringing in scholars and people from outside of the state to be able to discuss what's happening in this state and across the nation, and be able to not only speak to it, but to educate the community as well as ourselves as to how these policies are affecting us currently and how they're going to affect our educational systems as well as just the society is on a whole, because what happens in education filters down to the rest of the community, and sometimes the miseducation is more of what you see than what you don't see. So being able to work with the other law schools gave me and the school, you know, a good sense of being a part of something that was bigger than just FAMU. But being a Rattler for Justice, you know, our whole scheme and our whole impetus for being is to bring things to light and to bring justice. So, you know, I often say that I'm a two-spirit person. I have my social and economic justice on one side, and then I have the other side, which is, you know, of course, we got to get the dollars in order to be heard. So this was a nice bridge of learning how to work within social policy and how to be able to represent not only the school, but to learn from other schools and other students and scholars to be able to represent, you know, from a legal perspective, how we can go forward. Yeah.
So I understand that you are, once you begin practicing, it will be, your focus will be IP. Are there any other practice areas that you have thought about?
Actually, I'm currently working for the Legal Aid Society in New York in their social policy unit as well. So I'm still doing social justice at the same time as, I don't think
they go hand in hand.
Exactly. I don't think that one is, you know, greater than the other. I think that it, once again, even on my application to school, I felt that economic justice is the basis of all justice, because again, if you have no financial bearing, nobody listens to poor people, and that's just a reality across whatever race you're a party of.
True.
So you know, it's social justice and economic justice paired together. So intellectual property is very important, especially going to Florida A&M, because we are an engineering school. We do create things. We are in agriculture. We're in science. We're in engineering. So it's important for us as a people to be able to not only be able to create and to advocate for ourselves, but also to be able to protect those intellectual patents and technologies that we're creating. Because if you look at the history of America,
Oh, yes.
there's a lot of things that people use on a day-to-day basis that were created by minorities that no one's, one, aware of, and two, we did not benefit from. So
30 plus years went by after the Patent Act was passed before we were able to own our own patents,
And
because
there
the
it is.
Constitution did not define us as citizens. So it's refreshing to meet you. Thank you for joining us and sharing a little bit about your unique journey. Looking forward to hearing more about what you're able to do for the community.
thank you so much for having me.
There's more Legal Connections coming up after this. Stay with us.
When the bell tolls, who will answer the call for justice? Who will own the responsibility of molding those to be socially responsible? What if there was a law school that not only taught social justice, but it became a way of life, where families are the cornerstone of the community and the accused are innocent until proven guilty, and where social matters matter and are handled with swift justice? From the rattle to the gavel, we are Rattlers for Justice. We are Florida A&M University College of Law.
For the 5th year in a row, Florida A&M University is the #1 public HBCU according to U.S. News & World Report. But wait, there's more.
Today, I'm very, very proud to announce that our quest to march to the top 100 in the U.S. News & World Report's ranking has been achieved. In fact, we moved up 12 places from number 103 just a year ago to number 91 this year. This is a major accomplishment for FAMU, one that has been in the making for nearly 136 years.
FAMU also appears in other categories ranked by U.S. News & World Report. On the Social Mobility Index, the university jumped 2 spots from 23rd to 21st. Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Allison Watson, said making it into the top 100 is a reflection of collective efforts from students and faculty.
So our faculty are one of the heartbeats of the institution. They're the first line that students see when they come through our doors. They come into their classes and they expect to learn from esteemed faculty who have research expertise, have an academic prowess for teaching. So as a faculty member, our faculty should really hold their shoulders and heads high and say, you know, I was a part of attaining this success and I'm going to keep giving my all to the students of FAMU.
The Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Donald Palm, said he believes as the university continues to climb the ranks, it will help debunk common misconceptions about historically Black colleges and universities.
What's so inspiring is that moving up 12 points, right? We were just really looking at breaking the 100, and moving up 12 points is, again, truly inspiring. It's remarkable. But again, our best days are ahead of us because there's more to come. And I'm very excited about being part of the team, being part of a phenomenal culture, and really coming back to Florida A&M University to really level my talents.
FAMU also had a celebration on the yard. The president said it was to thank faculty, staff, students, and alumni for their contributions to breaking the ranks. For Florida A&M University, I'm Javonni Hampton.
Jesse J. McCrary Jr. was one of the original 57 pioneers to graduate from the Florida A&M University College of Law before it was closed in 1968. Jesse J. McCrary Jr. was sworn in as Florida's Secretary of State in 1978, becoming the first African American to occupy that post since Reconstruction. McCrary was born in Bridgeton, Marion County in 1937 and graduated from Florida A&M University College of Law in 1965. He worked as Florida's Assistant Attorney General and in 1970 became the first black lawyer from a southern state to argue a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. As a tribute, FAMU Law's Black Law Students Association is named after McCrary, who attended the program in his honor. From this time at FAMU to his final years living in Miami, McCrary was an advocate for civil rights in Florida. We salute Jesse J. McCrary Jr., a legal pioneer and a true rattler for justice.
That's our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kimra Major-Morris. See you next time on Legal Connections.